Hello everyone, welcome to the self-knowledge course. As you can see today we have lecture number 17, sorry. And we are going to talk today about the three factors for the revolution of consciousness. So today we have a very important topic because in this we are going to know the only three factors that, if we put them into practice, of course, will really lead us to awaken our consciousness, to develop our spirit, and to achieve the self-realization of our being, which is the total liberation. Well, so let's start immediately with today's topic. Allow me just a second to share something here. Okay. Okay, everything's okay. So, you can see that nowadays we can find millions of religions, millions of spiritual or mystical schools, millions of beliefs, practices, methods must lead us to seek the divine in an external way, an external form, believing that the divinity is something external to us. So those, let's say, waves imply believing, imply developing a blind faith towards something or towards someone. And we only just need to hope that someday or in the hereafter we will be rewarded for having maintained that blind faith, which we believe is superior to any other belief, and that without a doubt ours is the only true one. That is like the most common way. But we also find many waves of a spiritual type that teach lots of techniques and methods to achieve spirituality, to develop capacities, to achieve healing, to achieve inner peace, abundance, well-being, to develop certain internal faculties, mental powers, or even to awaken our consciousness. But what happens that we can spend years searching and trying among the sea of theories and practices that exist everywhere without finding something that really generates a real and definitive change. Something that really leads us to experience and advance in our awakening. And many times we end up just exhausted, and resigned to hope of an afterlife, or we lose hope and we go to atheism, denying the existence of something superior or of something divine. But what happens that when the soul, tired of turning in this wheel of death and rebirths, comes to the knowledge of these three factors that we are going to know today, and the person begins to practice them, and then to experience these factors directly every day in his own life, a regeneration process begins. And that process leads that person, leads that soul to discover and to achieve the purpose for which it descended into this physical manifestation, which is to get to know himself. So the first thing that we have to start by remembering is that we are energetic beings. So the most valuable and powerful thing that we have in us is our own energy. And we need to remember that we are composed of three parts. The matter, which is our physical body, that is, this energy condenser that we have, our human machine. But we also have a soul that is currently contaminated. Our soul is 97% of our essence. It is actually our energy, and it comprises, what is right now our ego, because all that essence, all that 97% of our essence, of our energy, is conditioned by all of our negative ways of being. All are manifestations of anger, pride, ambitious, jealous, envy, greed, criticism, anxiety, sadness, worry, selfishness, self-importance, lust, laziness. All of that, that is like an endless list of wrong ways of being that we have in our interior, and that make up our ego. And our ego is actually what is conditioning or have trapped 97% of our essence. So our soul, we don't possess our soul in this moment because our ego is the one who is like who has trapped all that is our soul, or that all of that energy, all of that essence. And what happens? That we also have a spirit, because we are made up of three parts. And that spirit is energy also, but in its pure aspect, in its superior aspect. It is the 3% of our essence that is free and is conscious, and that cannot be ever conditioned by the ego, because it is a divine part in us. And we all have that conscious part within us. Only because of our unconsciousness and because of the fascination with this physical world and with our personality, it is currently asleep. And we need to do a work to start awakening our 3% and then liberating the 97% of our essence. And it is with the practice of the three factors that we will learn today that we are going to awaken our consciousness, the 3%, to begin to receive what? Strength and guidance from our divine and conscious part, because that is our inner master. Our conscious part is our guru, but it's currently asleep. So we need to awaken that part, so we start connecting with our unconsciousness. And it is with the practice of these three factors that we are going to begin to release and to awaken the 97% of our essence that is currently trapped in the ego. So we are going to start setting free all that energy, and we are going to start saving energy. Every day we are given energy to function, and we misuse all that energy, given that energy to our ego. In every manifestation of our ego, we are feeding it with our energy. So with the practice of these three factors, we are going to start saving energy and to start making a wise use of it. Why? Because our spiritual awakening will depend on how much energy we manage to release, to save, and to condense in our spine in order to awaken our consciousness. So let's see these three factors, and let's see how they will help us to achieve this purpose that we all have. So the knowledge of these three factors actually has existed in all cultures of all times that saw, the regeneration of the human being, and that ascent from the animal state in which we find ourselves to a human state, and then to a divine state. So we can find in the different cultures vestige of this millenary wisdom that was previously handled in a hidden way, often hermetic, but in this era of the end of a race in which we find ourselves, it is being openly brought to all humanity, so that those souls who have a spiritual longing acknowledge this wisdom and awaken their consciousness. And in order to revolutionize ourselves, we have three forces within us. That force of the Father, that force of the Son, and that force of the Holy Spirit. But we must understand what this really means. The Father is wisdom, is a part of the wisdom of our consciousness. And the Father is the beginning of everything. The Son, or the force of the Son, represents the justice in us. And the Holy Spirit represents the power of our consciousness. So, the Father is related to wisdom. And the Father, or that inner force, manifests in us when we teach or sacrifice ourselves for others. So we call to this, to helping others to awaken, the sacrifice for humanity, that is one of the three factors. So you see, 3% of consciousness, of free and awakened consciousness, and then you find three forces: one of the Father, one of the Son, and one of the Holy Spirit. That is what I'm trying to explain now. So the Father is the wisdom, and it manifests in us when we help others, when we teach others how to awaken our consciousness through the sacrifice of humanity, right? And the second force, the Son, is in charge of making justice inside of us. So that the objective, of this part of our inner being is to set free all of our consciousness and to balance all of our centers. And this part of our consciousness, the justice, manifests when we practice the psychological death, which is another factor for the consciousness revolution. When we are setting free our consciousness by practicing the psychological death. And the third force, the force of the Holy Spirit, is the part of our Divine Mother that is the creative energy. And she is the one that gives us the power to create our internal bodies through the wise use of the sex, of our sexual energy in the suprasex practice. And to that procedure, we call the spiritual birth, which is another factor, the factor that is called to be born. And these three parts of our being is what are going to make in us that revolution of our consciousness. When we start practicing these three factors, that revolution will begin in ourselves. So these are the three factors. The first factor is to be born, or the spiritual birth. The second factor is to die, or the psychological death. And the third factor will be the sacrifice for humanity. Well, let's then explain something here. Let me check if everything is okay here with the broadcast. Yeah. Okay, so let's explain each one of the factors. The first one is to be born, or the spiritual birth. And this one is aimed at beginning to understand the value of our sexual energy, so that we get to realize that the biggest mistake that we make as humans is not understanding the value and the power that resides in our energy. So you see that the world, the nature, the society in which we live, and each one of our psychological defects currently feed on our energies, because we don't know that all of our power, all of our possibilities of being resides on our energy, especially on our sexual energy. So we are currently like simple puppets or simple bodies that serve to feed subhuman entities that exist within us and outside of us. So we constantly squander all of our reserves of mental energy, of emotional energy, of motor energy, speaking a lot of unuseful things, of motor energy, also making a lot of unnecessary things, or acting like, zombies or like machines, doing things without concentration. And we are all the time wasting all of our energy. But worst of all is that we constantly, and for pleasure, we waste the most available energy within us, which is our creative sexual energy. And the first and the most important change that we must make within ourselves is to begin to value our sexual energy, to stop wasting our sexual energy. So we start to condense it in our spine, and we begin the process of a spiritual birth. A spiritual birth is the creation of the existential bodies of the being through the proper use of sexuality. So we don't only have this physical body, but we have 7 bodies. And we need to regenerate two of them, the physical and the vital, that we already have them created, but we have them in a degenerative state, in a lunar state, because we are making a terrible use of our energy. And the astral, mental, and causal bodies, we don't have them fully created. Of them, we only have like a principle of an embryo of these bodies. And we need to start using our sexual creative energy in order to regenerate and to create these internal bodies. The Buddhic and the Atmic bodies, they are fully created, they never fallen, but we need to make those first 5 creations in order to join these superior bodies. And well, how are we going to do this? By practicing the suprasexuality, by making a wise use of our sexual energy, uniting sexually with a partner of the opposite sex, because only, how can I say that? Only different poles can create. Only when you join a man and a woman, a creation can be done. So this work only can be done with a partner of the opposite sex. And we are going to start making all this process of regeneration and of creation of these bodies. And what happens? And once we create all these bodies and we join the superior bodies, then we are going to have a human soul that we currently are, as I was saying, we don't possess our soul right now. But when we do this work, we are going to possess a human soul. And we are going to become true men. So when we do that work, we are going to have a full presence in all dimensions of nature. Right now, we are living with this physical body in this third dimension. Most of the time, our consciousness is like living in the second and the first dimension, because there lives our personality and our ego. And as we are all the time like gravitating around the things of our personality, about making our personality better, adorn our personality, being, I don't know, someone who is recognized by everybody, and we want fame and pleasure and etc. We are all the time like gravitating around our personality. Or most of the time, we are feeding our ego. We are letting all of our ego manifest and make fun with our energy, grow with our energy, and for that reason, our consciousness is that low. But when we start doing this work and we start creating these internal bodies, we are starting to have full presence in the upper dimensions of nature. When we regenerate our vital body, we have a presence in the 4th dimension of nature. When we get to create our astral and mental bodies that both belongs to the 5th dimension, we get or we achieve a full presence in the 5th dimension of nature. That means that once you have created an astral and mental body, you can unfold yourself consciously to the 5th dimension every time that you want. I mean, you don't have to make a lot of effort. You don't have to practice a lot. You just let your physical body sleep in, and you just go with your fully solar astral body. You take it out and you go to the astral plane, or you take out from there, from the astral plane, you take out your mental body, and you can fully move in that upper plane of the 5th dimension. And the same when you get to create your causal body, you can move in the 6th dimension. And when you join the Buddhic and the Atmic body, you are going to have full presence in the upper 6th dimension of nature and in the 7th dimension of nature. So that is what you are going to achieve by practicing this first factor, that is to be born, or the spiritual birth. Now, how is this practice done? Because this is a sexual practice, but it's like a little different from the sexual practice that we have been knowing and practicing till today. because these superior practices really implies that we make some, let's say, arrangements to the way that we have been practicing sex so far. And the first thing is that for this work of the spiritual birth, we must learn to value our sexual creative energy, because it is with our sexual energy that we are going to do all the creations. This practice actually have three basic requirements, and in order to be, that superior sexual practice. And these requirements are fidelity, chastity, and love. So, performing this practice without complying with any of these requirements will lead to not being able to receive the results from this practice. So, if we are going to practice suprasexuality, we need a partner of the opposite sex, as I was saying, and we need to have fidelity to that practice. You cannot be changing partners, or you cannot practice sexuality with anyone outside of your partner, because this would adulterate the purity of the practice. And it results that when you practice suprasex with another person, when you practice suprasex with your partner, it's like if your energy and your partner's energy start to attract each other. It's like the thing that happens with the magnets, that you start feeling that attraction, that sexual attraction towards your partner. And if you go and you practice with another person, then that magnetism is going to be broken, and that if you do that, you are not going to be able to continue making this practice, because you're going to seriously harm your energy. So fidelity is actually an very important part of this work. The other thing is chastity, and chastity is non-fornication. Chastity is not it has nothing to do with celibacy, not at all. It's not about not having sex, no, at all. It's having sex, but without expelling the sexual energy from our body. That is never reaching orgasm and ejaculation, because if we do so, we are wasting our precious energy. So in this practice, we are going to learn how to raise the sexual energy through our spine while we are sexually connected to our partner, and that way you are going to achieve chastity. Never ever spilling your sexual energy, never ever reaching orgasm and ejaculation, but experiencing those superior connections that you are going to experience when you practice this type of sexuality. And the third requirement, love. Love is not what we think that it is. But because we tend to think that love is is related to sentimentality or attachments, or oh my God, I love you so much, I cannot live without you. No, actually, the real love that is going to be growing between you and your partner refers to respect for the other person, and it's about that spiritual longing that leads both people to collaborate to help each other to grow spiritually, because the couple is our most valuable complement, since he or her is going to help us to connect with our own divinity. Therefore, we must value our couple a lot. And for the practice of the suprasex, another important observation is that we need that the place in which we practice this sexual magic practice is a place that is clean, that is in a perfect state of cleanliness and ventilation, free of noises, free of televisions. And it is important that in this place that we do our practice, there are no more people sleeping there, since there would be like a mixture of energy. So it is important that this room is only for that couple. That is, well, another requirement. And well, just as it is important to have the bedroom clean in the physical form, it is also important that before doing the practice, we make sure to clean that place energetically. And we do this by doing, the conjuration of the bellowing, which is that song that cleans the environment and that I taught in lecture number 7. So if you don't know that song, you can go to the video section of the page and look for the lecture number 7, and then you can learn the bellowing conjuration and the magic circle, because the bellowing is going to energetically clean the space, and with the magic circle you are going to close it, so no negative energies can enter to harm the practice in any way. That is actually very, very important. And well, after that, always to ask for assistance to our inner being, to our inner Father and our Divine Mother to assist us in this practice. And then we proceed to practice. And well, we must know that it's important to have during the practice concentration. So we keep like focused in the practice, never letting the mind to interfere, imagining things, talking about anything. No, we are going to be like there all the time, present, living the here and now while doing the sexual practice. And another thing that is very important to have during the practice is the imagination. So because it is with our imagination, with the conscious imagination, that we are going to direct our sexual energy inward and upward. Remember that for the wise, to imagine is to see and to create. And that is very important. And another thing that is important is to have will. So we keep control of our sexual organs. So we have the will to control our sexual desire and never ever get to spill the sexual energy by reaching overexcitement. So we need to be in the practice making soft movements, and we need to be aware of never reaching a state of excitement is the word that I can say. So we never reach orgasm and ejaculation. So these are the 3 things that is important to take in mind during the practice. Well, now, speaking directly on how the sexual practice is done, once we have prepared the environment and we have asked for assistance, we are going to start activating our sexual energy along with our partner. So in order for the sexual energy to become activated, and so the couple achieves a correct erection in the man, and a correct lubrication in the woman, the couple are going to give themselves some conscious kisses and caresses. And when I say conscious, I mean that we are not going to let the mind get involved in the process, but we are going to stay focused, like living each kiss and living each caress without letting the lust lead us to overexcitement and to the loss of the sexual energy. And once we have achieved a correct erection in the man and a correct lubrication in the woman, we are going to proceed to the sexual union or the penetration. And the difference with the sexual practice to which we are, accustomed, will be that instead of making from them rough movements to overexcite ourselves and to reach the point of orgasm, we are going to make gentle movements only when necessary to maintain the sexual power, and we are going to start moving that sexual energy through our spine by making a respiratory process, a breathing and imagination process. And this process consists of 3 steps. Inhaling deeply and slowly until we fill our lungs with the air. You see here like this, the example with the woman's body. So what she's going to do is that she's going to inhale deeply and slowly to fill your lungs, and you are going to imagine this air going towards your sexual gonads. This needs to be as slowly as you can. Hopefully you can like in, I can find the word. Hopefully you can lengthen for 20 seconds the inhalation, but you can try to do as slowly as possible. You inhale, imagine the air going to your sexual gonads. Then the second step will be to retain the air. And when you retain the air, you imagine how all that powerful sexual energy turns into a golden thread that is going to be directed with your imagination towards your coccyx, which is the lowest bone of your spine, and from there it's going to ascend all the way until it reaches this point, the point between the eyebrows. Once you, by retaining the air, bring all of your energy to this point, the third step will be to exhale the air. And you are going to exhale the air by mentalizing the vowel I, but with the sound E, like E. Also slowly lengthening 20 seconds if you can. E. That is one procedure, right? And the second time you are going to make the same procedure. You're going to inhale, imagine the air, go into your sexual gonads, then you retain the air. You imagine how that sexual energy goes from your sexual gonads, in the case of the man, the ovaries, in the case of the woman, the ovaries, in the case of the man, the testicles. And you imagine that that energy goes towards your coccyx and then rises all the way in the spine until it reaches this point. And the second time you exhale by mentalizing the sound O, like O, no, sorry, the second time A. And the third time that you do this procedure, you are going to exhale with the sound O. O. So it's E the first time, the second time A, and the third time O. E, A, O. It's important that you remember these three letters. Actually, I'm going to post this in the page so you have that information in case you forget. So the first time, inhale, retain, imagine the energy ascending through your spine until it reaches this point between the eyebrows here, and you exhale, E, second time A, third time O, and you are going to see that the pronunciation of these sounds generates like a specific vibration that will activate the superior capacity of this energy. And if at any time you feel that the sexual potency drops a little, that is, that the man loses some of his erection or the woman loses some of his lubrication, the couple is going to make gentle movements to regain the sexual potency. And once the sexual potency is like great again, you are going to continue uploading your energy. You need to imagine that with this practice, you are actually feeding yourself with your energy, and you are not only feeding but filling yourself with your own sexual energy. And as this sexual energy is creative, you are creating yourself internally. And well, this practice can be extended for as long as the couple wants it, for as long as they have sexual potency. And as soon as the potency is completely finished, because all the energy has already been transmuted, then the practice ends. So if you give kisses and caresses and you feel that the potency is not recovered, then the practice ends. And the successful of this practice will be to withdraw from the practice without ever spilling the sexual energy. That is the success of the practice. And well, some things to take into account, some things important to consider are, first, to practice only once per night. You need, if you do the practice now, you need to wait at least 20 hours to do the practice again. Another recommendation is not to bath until 2 hours have passed. I mean, 2 hours after doing the practice. Because even if we don't see it at first, actually powerful electromagnetic energy is moving in you when you are practicing this suprasexual practice. And if you take a shower immediately, that will affect you. So that is a good recommendation to take into account. Each one must be concentrated on their own energy, as each one works with their own energy, and they need to be concentrated in their procedure, not in the procedure of the partner. And another thing to keep in mind is not to do the practice during the menstrual period, or if the woman is pregnant or lactating. And another important thing is not to use contraceptives, since they isolate and affect the creative power of the sexual energy. And we must bear in mind that this practice is in itself a natural control of fertility, because the success of the practice is to always withdraw from the practice without reaching orgasm and ejaculation. And well, that is all about the first factor for the consciousness revolution. If you have any question, please leave it in the comments and I will gladly be solving any question that you have. And well, the second factor is to die, which is the psychological death. And it refers to the disintegration of each one of our negative ways of being that keep our essence trapped and conditioned, that keep also our energy contaminated, and that are the ones that keep us in this degenerative state in which we currently are. And to eliminate them, we need to make a practice, a constant practice of self-observation, understanding of ourselves, of each of our ways of being, and to eliminating them by asking the power of the justice of our consciousness, which is our Divine Mother, with the power of the Sun. That is, we ask her, Divine Mother, eliminate this defect that we observed and discovered within ourselves. And that way, we are setting free a part of our consciousness. And that way, we are going to be rescuing the virtues of our soul that are currently trapped within all of our negative ways of being. So, there we find, we are going to start self-observing all of our negative moods, all of our negative emotions, all of our thoughts, and the negative ways in which we relate to our physical body that constantly keep us, in sickness and in physical weakness. And we see that the consequences that we experience in the physical plane, all the illnesses that we suffer, actually come from the contamination and the misuse that we make of our internal energy. And that is because we are letting all the time our psychological selves to manifest all those negative ways of being. And well, by eliminating them, we are going to develop the virtue that is opposite to that defect. Because if you get to eliminate your anger, you are going to develop patience, self-control, and love. If you eliminate your laziness, you are going to develop a lot of diligence. If you eliminate your lust, you are going to develop chastity. So important for the first factor. If you eliminate, the self that lies, or the greedy one, or the pride, well, you're going to develop honesty, you're going to develop loyalty, you are going to develop humbleness, etc. So we see that for us to truly develop a virtue, it is necessary that the comprehension and the elimination of the defect that has that virtue trapped. So if we want to really become virtuous people, we need to make hard work of getting to know ourselves and to get to eliminate all of those wrong ways of being. So the first step to practice the psychological death is the self-observation. That is like the most important part to transform ourselves. Actually, in the last lecture that was on Wednesday, we were talking a lot about what the self-observation is, which is to direct our attention to our interior to discover what is moving inside of us, to discover in our mind when our minds start to talk. You need to observe what is your mind saying, and you need to get to understand if it is actually a defect that is manifesting, or if it is your consciousness. Actually, your consciousness is never going to use your mind to think, to be speaking like a parrot. No, because your consciousness is pure wisdom. And when your consciousness needs to give you some information, it's going to send you to your heart as a clear intuition. So every time that you hear your mind talking, observe yourself, because a psychological defect is making use of your mental energy. So if we are self-observing, we are going to get to identify when is, the criticism, the envy, the greed, the lust, the anger manifesting in our mind. And if we get to judge that thought, and we know that it is, for example, envy that is actually manifesting in my mind, what I need to ask my Divine Mother, which is the power of love of my consciousness, to eliminate that envy from me. That is a conscious procedure, and you are going to experience how that envy detail had trapped a portion of your consciousness, and when you ask your Divine Mother for the elimination, you are releasing that consciousness so you can get to integrate that consciousness. The same with your emotions. If you observe that you are feeling something, that you are feeling certain, like, disliking emotion, something like weird is going on with your emotion. So you observe what is going on there. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling that? Then you discover that you feel sad because you feel lonely. Then you get to observe what is going on there. You are observing the sadness. You are observing the self that feels lonely. Then if you go further, you can realize that this is actually a manifestation of lust, because you actually want to have someone to go and have a sexual intercourse with that person, or to feed your emotional lust. Those are, like, for example, 3 defects that you are just observing in just seconds. So what you do, you ask your Divine Mother to eliminate that loss, eliminate that self that feels lonely, to eliminate that sadness, and you are going to experience how that negative emotion goes away. The only way that you can actually get to know that this that I'm saying here is true is by practicing, by observing yourself, discovering what is going on within you, and asking your Divine Mother to eliminate that. So you get to free yourself from that negative state. And if you do so, you're going to experience like the freedom. And you keep on observing yourself, and now you're talking. Okay, but who is talking? Okay, I'm judging someone, or I am yelling because I'm feeling impatience, or because I am feeling, intolerance, whatever. I am speaking, and I need to ask myself, who is talking? Because it is not my consciousness. My consciousness is not going to yell at someone. No, that is the impatient self. So I'm going to ask my Divine Mother to eliminate that. I'm going to refuse that desire of harming others, of yelling at someone. And I'm going to eliminate that, and I'm going to recover my inner peace. But that is going to be something real, because you have made the discovery of what is the cause of that wrong inner state, and you are eliminating it consciously. So that is the procedure for the psychological death. It is actually something like very simple to do, and you need to be doing that during the day, from moment to moment, so you can keep yourself in that state of self-awareness, living the here and now, in self-remembering. And the only way for you to stay living the present moment, achieving mental silence, is by eliminating all those wrong ways of being that are all the time trying to manifest in you to feed on your energy. So, the sense of self observation, you are going to see that will progressively become sharper as you use it, because it is currently like atrophy due to the lack of use. I was explaining that in the previous lecture. But as you continue using it, it will start like awakening, and you are going to be like able to see more defects as it gets, like sharper. And well, here you have an example of something that can happen to you, and that you can, if you get to observe yourself at that kind of situation, you can get to discover many different ways of being that are manifesting at the same time. Like, for example, you are driving along the street, sorry, but when you get to a corner, another vehicle like cuts you off, hard. And if at that moment you don't identify with what is happening to you, I mean, if you don't identify with that defect that immediately wants to manifest, which is anger, and you get to observe what is moving on in your inner world, you are going to be able to discover that there is a detail of a defect that is actually telling you to say something, to yell to the other driver, stupid, for example. Another one is saying to you, insult him. Another one is thinking, oh my God, who do you think you are? Another one wants to fight. In the emotional center, you can experience, you can observe how your emotion is like tense, and you feel like if you want to take revenge. And another one is hoping that that person crashes. So you can see like that you can be very perverse inside of you. So if you get to observe all that, you can come eliminating all those small details that are manifesting, and you can observe also the resentment, because sometime later you can still be remembering the scene, you still have anger, you can forget what happened, but if you are self-observing, you can get to eliminate all that, so you don't stay like a whole day in that negative inner state because of that simple situation. I mean, if you get to observe yourself, and if you get to eliminate all of that is moving within yourself, asking your Divine Mother to disintegrate each single detail, you are going to experience how you free your mind, how you free your emotion, how you free your motor center, how you even free your sex, because even your sex was like tense during that situation. So that is the practice of the psychological death. When we do this from moment to moment, it is called the ongoing death, and it involves to stay awakened the whole day, so we can observe every single detail of the ego, manifesting in us. And also we can take like a time during the day to sit and to reflect on the different things that have happened to us. Maybe at night you can take an hour, half an hour, to go into, enter into a state of meditation and to reflect on the different things that have happened to you. And there you can make new discoveries, because, okay, that happened to you. You get to observe certain details and eliminate them in the moment. But when you go home, for example, and you sit and you enter into you relax yourself and you stay on this, and you enter into the state of meditation, and you bring that scene, you can get to see more details of the ego that we're manifesting. For example, you can discover your pride, how you felt superior to the other one. For example, you can get to eliminate that detail. And well, there you continue to plead your Divine Mother for the elimination of everything that you get to understand that is part of your ego and that was manifesting in you. And that procedure is called reflexive meditation, and that helps you to free great amounts of consciousness, and is also part of the second factor, which is to die, or the psychological death. And well, the third factor for the consciousness revolution is the sacrifice for humanity. And this is about selflessly sharing this knowledge with all humankind. And in relation to our energy, sacrificing for humanity, searching for others to have the opportunity to change their lives, to stop suffering, to get to awaken their consciousness, is a great way to invest part of our energy for the benefits of others. And doing this actually pays off with great strength for our inner work. When we help others, when we give knowledge to others, when we give wisdom to others, we receive back a lot of wisdom from our Father. When we give strength to others, when we encourage others to stop suffering, when we give others the tools so they can change their lives, actually we receive back that strength and that courage to change our own lives. So that factor, the sacrifice for humanity, is like very, very important because it allows us to advance in both, in the elimination of our defects and in the creation of our internal bodies through the spiritual birth, because it gives us like the strength and like the merits, so those works like get done like better and more quick. And you know that wisdom is the beginning of everything, and if we never receive the wisdom, we die ignorant of the very purpose of our existence. And if we take a moment and we reflect on this, and we value these teachings, we are going to realize the responsibility that having this knowledge represents. Because when we receive the knowledge and we begin to apply it, and we begin to experience our own internal advances and the transcendental changes that we are living, you know, the need to share this knowledge to others begins like to be born in us, because we understand that just as at some point we were ignorant of this knowledge, and now we get to see how useful this is to us. The same, there are many other people in the world whose soul is waiting for someone to bring them to knowledge of these three factors, to get to know and to achieve the purpose of their existence. And that is how we actually show love for humanity, because love is not in the words, love is not in the emotions, love is in the actions, in what we do in favor of others. That is sacrifice for humanity. Now, there are certain conditions for the sacrifice for humanity. I mean, there are certain conditions to sharing this knowledge with humanity. The first one is that this knowledge must be delivered for free, without receiving anything in return. Otherwise, it wouldn't be sacrifice but business. As you know, all religions and all schools and all things that we find there is, you know, just a business with they are making business with the spiritual things and religion, etc. If we are going to give this knowledge, we must give it for free. That is the first and most important condition. The second condition is that we must give it to the entire world, without any restriction of race, age, nationality, gender, social status, whatever. As we all are sparks that came from the same source and looking for achieving the same purpose, which is the self-realization. So we need to give it to everyone. The third condition is that we must deliver it pure. So as you receive the knowledge, here we are given 50 lectures in the phase A and 25 lectures in the phase B. So you are going to receive an information that is like complete. So it is important that when you are sharing it with others, you don't add things to it and you don't take things from it. So you give it like pure. You don't adulterate this. And it is important also not to mix it with any other knowledge, but to keep it pure and give it pure. And well, those are basically the conditions for the sacrifice for humanity: to give it free, to give it to anyone, and to give it pure. And well, what are the reasons to sacrifice for humanity? First, to de-egoistize ourselves. What is that? To stop being selfish, because we are so selfish. And when we receive the knowledge, we are going to find that within us there are no one but many selfish selves that don't want at all to put some of their time to help others to awaken. You are going to find the one that says you don't have time, the one that says that you don't know enough, the one that says that you are not good enough for sharing the knowledge, that people is not going to understand you, or that people is going to make fun of you, or that people anyways doesn't want to know anything about that. If anything, and all of those are selves that are part of our selfishness. And actually, if we are making this act of love, if we are aiming to go to live in that superior, how can I say, the living the only law, which is the law of love, which is the highest vibration in nature, we need to start developing love in our interior so we can raise our level of consciousness. And an act of love is nourished by love, and love is in the actions and what you consciously do to help others. And well, what is another reason for sacrificing for humanity? That when we do so, we get the merits of the heart that allow us to advance in the work of the spiritual birth. So we create those internal bodies like quicker. And it also helps us with the psychological death, because each one of our psychological selves have their own deaths, their karmic deaths. Because when I let my anger manifest, I am harming others. And I actually have a debt with someone that I harm, and back I need to receive as a result, to be harmed. Or if I lie at someone, I need to receive that. Or if I betray someone, I am going to receive that back. And if I want to eliminate all those psychological defects, that I need to make myself aware that I have a huge karmic debt. And I need to pay for all those debts. And the way to pay for that is with Dharma. And I receive Dharma when I sacrifice for humanity. So I start paying for my karmas with love, and not with pain. And if I have the money, the internal money, the Dharma, to pay for the karmic debts of my psychological defects, I am going to be able to eliminate them quickly. And as we were explaining in the lecture number 13, when we are talking about karma and dharma, we were saying that if we want to self-realize, we need to pay for the karmas of 7 existences, and we need to pay for it all. So if we want to self-realize, we need to make a lot of dharma, so we make clear, I think, all of our accounts. And well, another reason is that he who gives wisdom receives wisdom, as I was saying. And what are the ways to sacrifice for humanity? Well, very easy. Inviting people to receive the knowledge. That is like the first way. That is the way we all start. Inviting our friends, our family, our acquaintances. And then when we have invited everyone we know, and we respecting their, what is the name of that? You need to respect the, I forgot. I mean, the thing is that we give everybody the invitation to the knowledge that the knowledge exists, but we don't push them. We respect their free will. That is the word. And then we start inviting strangers in social medias or by handing flyers, whatever, or pasting posters, making advertisement or publicity campaigns of the knowledge of the lectures, so other people get to know that we are giving the lectures, for example, on this page, etc. Another way that you are going to do once you receive, the lectures, once you ask the person that is giving you the lectures to hand you the book of the lectures and you start studying them, the next step is to start preparing yourself to teach this lecture, to teach this knowledge. And you start giving introductions to the persons about the course. I mean, that is talking to the person about the 3 factors for the consciousness revolution, about what is this course about, yeah. And the next step, or the next way to do sacrifice, is teaching these lectures, that as I am doing now, making a space. It can be, how do you say that, in presence, like there. You have a space and you invite people and you teach them the lectures, or you can do it over media, whatever you want. The thing is to hand people this knowledge. Opening places or spaces where the teachings can be taught, then later preparing others to continue teaching, motivating people to start the practice of the 3 factors. All those are ways to do sacrifice for humanity. And maybe the most important way to do sacrifice is we ourselves practicing the knowledge and awakening our consciousness. Because the most we set free and awaken our consciousness, the best you can guide and help others. So that is like the best way. And well, that is the 3rd factor, and those are the 3 factors for the consciousness revolution: to the spiritual birth, to the practice the suprasexuality, to make a wise use of your energy and creating your internal bodies. And the 2nd factor, to die, the psychological death, which is to eliminate all of your negative ways of being. So you free yourself from all of your ego and you get to awaken all of your consciousness. And the 3rd factor, the sacrifice for humanity. Those are the 3 works that are going to help you to achieve the self-realization of your being. There is no other way. And you can go and look and look and look and get your whole life looking for things. But once you receive this knowledge, the knowledge of the 3 factors, and you start practicing them, you are going to start experiencing within yourself the real and effective change. And well, this has been today's lecture.